space inside your mind. Learn OBEs with Louis Minero, International Academy of Consciousness. Well, Louis, I got to say, it's a real honor to speak with you here at the Leak Project. I mean, you are just at the top of your field when it comes to OBEs, and I'd strongly recommend our audience go to learnobes.com. You can also check out iacworld.org if you'd like to know more about how to actually have an out-of-body experience. Louis, thanks for joining us. How the heck are you?
I am fine. Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. It's a real honor to speak with you. We talked a little bit before the show. I told you how much of a fan I am personally with out-of-body experiences and how I find the phenomenon just to be literally superhuman, but something just about anybody can achieve if they try. So if you would, for our audience, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to research in depth out-of-body experiences.
Yeah, I guess basically with the out-of-body experiences, I started having them spontaneously when I was 12, more or less, involuntarily, completely involuntarily. I just, one afternoon, I just simply came outside my body and I saw my physical body there lying in bed. And this prompted me to return very quickly into the physical body. And it was very obvious for me that I had been outside my body, even to the point to which when I came back into my body, I remember thinking, wait a second, I was looking at myself from that perspective, but I am here, but I was there, but I am here. And obviously I was 12 at that moment. I really didn't understand what had just happened. I guess I must have thought that everybody had them because I just didn't even pay attention to that anymore. Probably they called me to go play baseball or something else, and I just put it out of my mind. And after that, I kept on having out-of-body experiences, not with a lot of regularity, maybe more or less like once a year or so, but they were always so obvious, so clear, even though they were very, how could I say, normal. I wasn't, visiting non-physical realities or anything like that. I was just simply floating about in my house at night, and seeing the dog walk around sometimes in the middle of the night to go to his water bowl and things like that. And then when I was about 22, 23, I believe, some of my colleagues, I was in my last year of college, of my chemistry degree, and some of my colleagues, they arrived in Miami, where I was living at the time, to start the branch of the IAC, the institution that I represent now and that I do research with and give classes on. So when I heard out-of-body experiences, I naturally became very interested in that. And since really the first activities, I realized this is it. This is what I've been looking for, a place, a school that teaches out-of-body experiences and that can, expand on the possibilities of this skill, of this ability. So that's really how I started, I guess. And then since then, I've been giving classes all over the world for about 20 years.
That's great. So you're definitely a natural. It's something that came to you just in your sleep, essentially, and then you built upon it from there. Now, I find that great because I've talked to people that have written books on out-of-body experiences, and they can't even really do it. They write books about it. So I would definitely, if I wanted to practice something, want to speak with a coach or somebody that knew how to do it very well. And, it sounds to me like you've had hundreds and hundreds of experiences that you can remember. I think that everybody, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but does everybody have out-of-body experiences when they go to sleep? Oftentimes they just don't remember it, right?
Exactly. Everybody disconnects. Everybody separates from the body. And, what is observed, and this has been observed not only by us, by the IC, but, different authors, different people from different centuries. If you see somebody who is sleeping close by, your wife, husband, son, etc., you're going to see that they are floating above their physical body, maybe separated by a couple of inches or 4 inches. This varies from person to person and from night to night. And we basically spend the entire 8 hours that we are sleeping, floating above our body, unaware, without realizing it, that is the case.
Now, if you would describe to our audience what the International Academy of Consciousness is.
Yes. We are a fairly large international organization of a non-profit organization of research and of education. This is the two main objectives. One is to try to do research on paranormal phenomena, certainly the out-of-body experience, near-death experiences, vital energies, consciousness evolution, etc. And the other aspect is the education aspect. So trying to give classes in a really several fields, but mainly with the emphasis on the out-of-body experiences and trying to help people to develop their own skills. And within that also, I know that you were mentioning Certainly in my case, I started having out-of-body experiences when I was very young, and later on is that I learned techniques and I was able to induce it a little bit more frequently. So yes, a little bit more of a natural ability, but let me say I have a lot of colleagues and a lot of instructors really in the ISE who took the other trajectory towards the out-of-body experiences. They were students first. They hadn't had, out-of-body experiences before, but like anything in life, it's really a matter of training, almost like a sport or like learning a musical instrument. They, apply themselves enough, and now they are, coaches, instructors. Sometimes I am actually asking them, for advice on certain things because they are just as good. Really, it's a matter of a training. Really, there's nothing mysterious about it. It's just a matter of repetition and dedication.
And when you said that you could observe somebody if they were sleeping, floating out of their body, is there specific cameras such as Kirlian photography or something similar to that can actually observe the spiritual body outside of the physical body?
No, not that I know of at the moment. The Kirlian photography certainly can perceive, some of the vital energies, but it's on a more limited basis. That we don't have like a camera, that can perceive, fully the astral body at this moment. Hopefully, in the next decades, we'll be developing it, and that will help a lot, tremendously, because obviously, that's going to help us to give more evidence, to people of something that has been already observed for a while, right? Now, I have a friend of mine, because on the research aspect, we have different research lines at the ISC, and I have a colleague of mine who is doing a lot of research on trying to detect bioenergies or vital energies in the functional MRIs. I know maybe the listeners, some people know the MRIs as this medical machine where you are put into, when they want to scan inside your body. And then besides the normal MRI, there is the fMRI, which instead of static images really is made for detecting the functioning of the body. Also, it's a medical, or the applications are mainly medical. But he has been able to get a lot of very interesting images and perceptions of vital energies through the functional MRI. And this, again, is part of the effort of the ISC, one of the research lines in trying to provide conventional data, about this paranormal phenomenon.
Great. Now, is there a difference between OBEs and astral projection?
I know several different authors. Sometimes they classify it in different fashions, and then sometimes they refer to, for example, astral projection or astral travel when you are going to a certain range of dimensions, maybe more the astral planes. For some authors, these are the more maybe denser or lower type of planes, and then the out-of-body experience is a different type of a plane, or the soul travel is a different type of a plane. And to a certain extent, I understand that classification of trying to classify depending on where we're going. But in essence, the disconnection is basically the same, and the body that we are using out there is basically the same. To simplify, I can say right now that is, I'm just going to use the most generic term, we leave the body, and if we look at ourselves, we are wearing what they call the astral body, which looks exactly like our physical body, exactly our same height, our same, wingspan, same scar in the left arm where we fell from the bike when we were, 15. So it looks exactly like us. And then, of course, depending on which reality we tune in, we can reach, many different dimensions and many different realities. So, yes, I know that they use different types of, terms or terminology, but it's more than anything related to, where we're going and how lighter the astral travel is, or how dense and heavy the astral travel is, the astral body.
Now, also, some people say that dreaming is the same thing as an out-of-body experience, but it's just like a really powerful lucid dream. What would you say to them? We realize that there is certainly a distinction. The difference between the regular dream and the out-of-body experience really is awareness. When you are outside the body, you are as aware as you are right now. Even if I were to sort of like joke with the listeners, the people that are listening to this, and I were to ask them, at this moment, are you dreaming this podcast, or are you awake of it? I'm sure everybody realizes that they are awake, aware, and that they won't confuse this with a dream. Now, that's the distinction between the regular dream and the out-of-body experience. It's just a very
there's an ocean of difference in terms of the level of awareness. Now, the interesting thing is the difference between the lucid dream, when the dream is very vivid and very fairly aware, and the out-of-body experience. Because in a lucid dream, you can realize that you are aware, you can change your dreams. I'm sure many people that have already dabbled in lucid dreams, they probably have already done that. That is actually a lot of fun, I would say. So you can change the dream basically at your will, and you are aware that you're dreaming. And basically therein lies the difference that, when you are in a lucid dream, the environment is completely dependent on you. You can change it at will, meaning if you're looking at a wall and you want for the wall to turn blue, the wall does turn blue because what you're seeing is a projection of your mind. You are creating the dream. But in the out-of-body experience, the reality is independent of you. So even if you want to, turn the wall blue, the wall stays the same color because it's not a function of your imagination. So basically, like the physical reality, right now I'm here looking at a white wall. As much as I want for it to turn yellow or blue, it just doesn't, because it's something different from me, it's something independent of me. So the non-physical realities that you visit in an out-of-body experience, they are there whether we visit them or not, whether we think about them or not. And they are independent of us. It would be almost like saying, I've never been to China, but China is there whether I go and visit it or not. It's completely independent of me.
Absolutely.
So, that would be the main difference.
Now, have you ever seen your silver cord or astral cord?
Yes, I have. I know sometimes in many books, especially in books from prior decades, there was a sort of like a long-running discussion on whether where does the silver cord come from and whether it actually exists or not. And what I can tell you, and for the evidence that we have seen, we certainly have it. It's an aspect of you. You can actually even explore it when you're outside the body. By exploring it, I mean. When you're outside your body, your astral body can go through physical things, so we are not able to grab a book, we can go through a wall, etc., etc. But what you will realize is that you're not able to go across yourself. So with one hand of your astral body, you can grab the other, for example, with the right hand of your astral body, you can grab the left arm of your astral body, and you're not able to go across yourself because it's almost, to simplify here, it's almost as if to say we are the same density. So you are going to realize that you have a mass, that there is substance there. So just like you can grab your hand or your arm or your leg or your head, you can also reach back behind your neck and you can actually grab your silver cord. Now, I don't know if I'm corrupting everybody here from from this podcast, but certainly there's nothing wrong with that. You can reach back and grab your silver cord, and what you're going to realize is that it has the thickness more or less. Let me see, maybe of about 3 of your fingers, maybe 2 or 3 of your fingers. Just trying to give a reference here. And the other thing that you're going to realize is that it does have, it's not static, but it has, it's very active. It almost feels sometimes as if when we are taking our pulse, that you feel that the blood is pumping through the veins. So just like that, when you grab the silver cord, you feel the activity of it, and it's almost as if there is bioenergy or vital energies that are flowing back and forth through the cord. So that many times, by the way, let me already say, when people do it, when they grab their silver cord or they explore their silver cord for the first time, the fact that there is all of this activity sometimes surprises you a little bit, and that sometimes can cause a return to the physical body. So that's even why I am advancing all of these details, so that hopefully if some of the listeners do it, they are less surprised and they're able to continue with their out-of-body experience.
Yeah, that sounds fascinating. I like how you brought up the fact that it feels like it's almost pulsing and sending energy into the body. That's incredible to think about, and you really painted a good picture there. Also, I know several people that are extremely good at remote viewing. I've interviewed them several times. I mean, literally world class, and you can give them a number on a piece of paper that doesn't mean anything, and they can take that and basically the good ones can draw a picture of what they're seeing, which is represented by that number that somebody wrote down on a piece of paper, that there's really no connection except for writing a number down. It's just incredible. So could you tell us the difference between like remote viewing and an out-of-body experience? Are you familiar with remote viewing?
Yes. What happens? Remote viewing basically is the displacement of your sight, where even as you are here inside the body, you're able to displace your sight. Technically, your sight, even though I know sometimes it's more than just simply the sense of vision, because sometimes you're able to hear at a distance or to feel things at a distance, not just to see them. Now, what is interesting, and maybe this perspective will be new for some of the listeners, is that when you are outside the body, the astral body is able to do that outside the body fairly easily. So just like we can go through a wall with our hand, also our vision outside the body can go through the wall. And then if we focus on the room next door, we can see what is happening on the room next door. And if we focus on, I don't know, where we left our wallet, and we displace our sight all the way back to our apartment, we can see on top of the desk, and we realize that that's where we left it. So no problem. I don't need to cancel my credit cards just yet, at least. So this remote sensing is basically seems to be the normal capacities of perception of the astral body. The astral body is the one that has that ability to displace, your senses, whether your vision, your hearing, your perception, remote intuition, etc. And outside the body, this is much, much easier. Now, when we are inside the body, the physical body restricts those capacities a little bit, and then we need a little bit of training or, to have a lot of predisposition in order to be able to do it. And of course, as you rightly pointed out, there are some people who are very skilled at that. No doubt. It's just that outside the body, this is the normal. Really, this is the way the astral body operates. And sometimes on the first out-of-body experiences, we don't realize that is an ability of the astral body, because really it's unusual for us. We are not really thinking about it. But after a while, and especially, obviously, if you have heard somebody, an interview like this one, or you read a book, then you start trying it out and you realize, oh yes, this actually works very well outside the body. So they're basically two different things. One thing is, the displacement of your senses, and another thing is for you to go there with your actual astral body and be experiencing that reality, with your astral body, and not just the displacement of your senses. I don't know if I confused there more than help, but hopefully
that was great.
Was able to, yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Made perfect sense. And also, I'm thinking of the silver cord again, and the folklore of if you cut the cord, then you're basically severing someone's life. I think of movies like Dreamscape. I think of movies like Nightmare on Elm Street. And then I also want to go to a recent interview I had with Douglas Dietrich, where he talks about the Chachua, which are these, they're a race from Nepal, essentially, that are literally not much taller than 3 feet, as he describes them, almost albino. And they've got these really incredible mind powers, and they're called dream eaters, where they can literally kill people in their dreams. So I'm wondering if, and I've heard of the dream assassins that the military have on the internet woo-woo section and stuff too, which I'm sure could be complete conspiracy there. But some of this other stuff, I've wondered before, is there any validity to that?
This is I know something that has been written about quite a bit. Even classical authors from different decades, about the idea that maybe the silver cord can be cut, and obviously that's something that you want to stay away from. Even on the first chapter of my book, I spent maybe a good several pages trying to explain, or trying to answer the question, is it safe to leave the body? And I also address this point because obviously, some people have heard about it, and that's what's even stopping them from trying to a very great extent. Now, what we have seen is that you cannot cut the silver cord, even because it doesn't function so much as a cord per se. I know that it looks a little like a cord, and then we start thinking about our understanding of how cords work in the physical reality, where you can come with some type of scissors, if we have a cord here in the physical reality, and basically cut it. However, outside the body, this is not so much like a cord, like a rope, but it's almost like a magnetic, energetic type of a connection. Really, I wouldn't know exactly what is the structure of it, but you can actually grab, and I've done this, you can actually grab the silver cord of another person. I remember with a friend, we used to do a little bit these types of experiments, and it's actually a very strong connection, and you can move it, you can try to do things, and really nothing happens to it. It's very, very strong. It's very, very hard, or I actually haven't seen any way in which it can disconnect. And not only this, maybe to try to give also a different perspective, even the death of the physical body doesn't necessarily disconnect the silver cord. So what happens when somebody passes away is that the silver cord stays connected for a certain amount of time. Now, and it'll stay connected to the physical body, even though the hardware, the physical body already stopped. It'll stay connected for, depending on the person, maybe half an hour, something like that. So even though the physical body already stopped functioning, if the doctors come in, let's say 10 minutes later, and they're able to resuscitate the body, applying a certain amount of voltage and everything, the soul, let me put it this way, or the astral body has the potential to come back into the physical body, and it is what we call a near-death experience. But there is the possibility of doing that because the silver cord is still connected. Now, obviously, if we arrive at the person who had the accident or, that passed away, if we arrive, I don't know, a day or 2 days later, then yes, the silver cord already disconnected, and then at that time there is no amount of voltage probably that is going to do it. So sometimes not even physical death will disconnect the silver cord that quickly, but it'll last a little bit. It'll stay a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's interesting, and that also makes sense when you hear those stories about how somebody had drowned and then half an hour later they come back. Wow, that's fascinating. It makes me think that we're all plugged into this. You think of the holographic universe theory about how there's really no physical matter, or whatever is physical, it's so minute. If you look under a microscope, you can't really find a solid point the further you go deeper. And then you think
right.
about what you're bringing up with the cord and the way that it almost pulsates this energy. This is just really fascinating stuff if you connect the connections there. One of the things I'm also wondering about is with the past, present, and future, the Akashic Records is supposed to have everything within the Akashic Records. And when you leave the body, can you go into the past? Can you go into the future?
Yes, you can. You can have certainly, recollections of past lives and even access information from past experiences and from the past in general. Let me see if I can begin first by addressing the idea of the Akashic Records. I know, obviously, and I'm sure many listeners who have already heard about them, they have seen this description sometimes in older books where they refer to the Akashic Records as this deposit of information or this library, where all the information is. Obviously, this idea that it's a library is just, an idea, right? It's not that there is an actual place with, books and, hallway number 3 library. And, an actual library. And then when you go to pick up the volume, it's already on loan, so you have to come back. That really doesn't, it's not the case. But the information of the history of the places, in essence, or of anything that we want to know. For example, let's say I am at this moment here in California. Let's say I wanted to know, what was happening here in California in the year 1000. So that information is in the energies here in California. The vital energies that were manifested at that time maintain the information of the history, and then outside the body you can read that. You can do like a psychometry of that and connect with the time, and then even visualize it, meaning see it in images, what was going on at that time. So the idea of Akashic Records, or of things that are external to us, you will find that information in the actual places where you want to investigate. So the history of China is in China, the history of the moon is in the moon, the history of South Africa is in South Africa. Now, the history of you and your own experiences is basically in you. It's not so much in a specific place, but it's inside of you. So the astral body has its own, I'm going to simplify here, has its own memory. And then while we are inside the body, we rely a little bit more, obviously, on the brain and on the memory of the physical brain. But when we are outside the body, it becomes a little bit easier to access this memory that is of past existences. Obviously, also when people are put under hypnosis, it becomes they're able to access this memory from previous existences. So yes, outside the body you can access the past, and also you can access the future. Sure, something to say about the future is that it's not written in stone that that's what is going to happen, but it's almost maybe to try to give a good explanation. It's almost like the weather forecasts. That how sometimes we see the weather forecast and they say next weekend there's an 80% chance of rain. So it is a probabilistical future. And we can change it, update it, and we do actually with our actions, with our will, with our manifestation. Sometimes, what had an 80% chance of occurring just doesn't occur, exactly like the weather. And the further out we go into time, the harder it is to be accurate, because there are more factors and more variables that can change, the outcome. But having said that, yes, certainly you can have information about the future, about the possible future when you are outside the body, indeed. And also, I don't know how much I should expand myself here, but in the physical reality, of course, we have time. Time is a very defined variable or quantity to a certain extent, and the passing of time, at least for our perception, tends to be in one direction, right? All the time we are moving forwards. But when you go to other dimensions, they start to lose the meaning of time that we have here. Sometimes you are in certain out-of-body experiences and you feel that you were out 2 hours worth of experiences over there. And then you come back into the physical reality and you realize that only 15 minutes went by on your alarm clock in the night table. So you realize that the time in that other dimension doesn't correspond one-to-one to this physical reality. So in other dimensions, time starts to lose its meaning. And there are some very high upper dimensions, sometimes people like to call them the mental or intellectual dimensions, where it would seem that all the references of time have completely disappeared. And it seems as if everything is, again, there is no reference of measurement. You realize in those realities that there is still cause and effect. Something, in order for you to observe something occurring, something else must have caused it. What I'm trying to say is, if in order for you to see to try to pick a simple example, to see the milk spilled on the ground, before somebody must have dropped the milk. So there is cause and effect, but the system of measuring time or the reference just simply doesn't have any meaning in that dimension, and it's already non-existent to a very great extent. I know sometimes some of these conversations of time can become very, very abstract, because time is such a quantity that even here in the physical reality is hard to understand. But once we add the many dimensions, it starts to become a little bit more complex, I would say. But hopefully I've been able to explain a few points there.
Yeah, indeed, absolutely. And you also brought up earlier that you used to do some experiments with somebody in the astral realms.
Yes. These are actually some of the most interesting experiences, which is when you have out-of-body experiences with somebody else. So 2 people leave their body, you have a shared experience, and then you come back to the physical body. And this is interesting, first of all, because it takes away the subjectivity of the experience. It's not something that only you perceive, but now there is how could I say, a verification, a confirmation element, sort of like a little bit more of an objective element to the out-of-body experiences. Also at the IAC, we have several research lines even where we try to also provide data that helps to understand the perception outside the body and tries to also provide evidence for the fact that these experiences obviously are happening, or better yet, are real. And not just like the dreams, for example, which we basically don't have any element of verification for them.
So if you could do an experiment where you were going to verify you both saw the same thing, what were some outlines or applications you would use to verify that?
There are actually many. Let me talk about, because there are different setups and different studies, I guess, that we have done. But let me speak here about this one that we call we just simply call it a projective field. This is more of an internal name, but in essence, what we do is, we go to a hotel. This is pretty much a big event, for different people to experience and to practice their out-of-body experiences, but also it's a research, activity. So maybe about 60 or 70 people, are lying down in the ballroom of a hotel, and they are all trying to have out-of-body experiences. In another area of the hotel, in a little room, that room is empty, but we have put a laptop that just simply picks up a random image and displays it on the screen for 1 hour. Now, that little room is closed, and outside of the little room, there is an auditor, who just simply is going to verify that nobody went in physically to the little room. And that auditor usually is somebody who is not associated with IAC. Normally, it's a college professor or a journalist, somebody that has some authority, right? It would be a little strange if it was my mother, for example. So,
right.
Yeah, so it's somebody that has a little bit of authority. And then the people that are in the ballroom, of course, they have to try to leave their body. They have to go into the room, where the laptop is. They have to see the image and then come back to their physical body. And once they wake up, they are given a form where they write down and describe, their perceptions. Once all of these forms are gathered and are taken to the auditor certifies that he saw all the forms before opening the door, and then the door is open and you go and see what is the what are the results. And then yes, we have had already several hits in that experiment, which is interesting. There are several aspects about it. For example, nobody has seen the images before, so the possibilities of guessing it is almost infinite. When you have, let's say, 5 possibilities, the chance or the probabilities of guessing it would be 20%. But if nobody has seen the images, and the data bank of images is of about I believe about 500, and in essence, they can be anything. I have never seen them. It can be a cartoon picture of Yogi Bear. It can be a landscape. It can be, just a key. It can be the picture of a book. So it really can be anything. The fact that somebody hits it already makes it very, worthy of note. So already we have had hits, and besides the evidence, also it is interesting to see how the astral body perceives things from the non-physical reality, because notice that what we have on the screen is made for the physical eyes. So when we are in a computer screen, see, for example, a lion, there isn't really a lion there. It's just the image of a lion. It's just light that is in the representation of a lion. And in the screen, there are basically just, little pixels that are coming on and off. But there isn't really a lion there. So outside the body, it is much easier to perceive a real object, like an actual lion, than just light coming through the screen, which the astral body really is not made to detect this that easily. So a lot also has been learned, with those experiments, in trying to understand how the vision of the astral body works for the physical reality. So as well, that's another objective. We do this type of experiment maybe once every 2 or 3 years. We're going to have it next year in Miami, as well as along with a very big conference on consciousness, where different college professors and different individuals are going to go and present the results of their works. So that as well.
Now, has that taken people before that were very skeptical after they saw some of the results and said, "Wow, this is just incredible"?
Yes, that certainly has happened. I think that in order for people, at least at this moment, since even though there is already evidence, but maybe there isn't enough, and this is still not mainstream. I think that if people are a little bit open, they certainly will consider it. They certainly will open their eyes a little bit more, and they will realize, wow, this is, as you were saying, they're going to react, wow, this is interesting. There is something to this here. I cannot just simply dismiss it or discard it so lightly. Of course, if the person is already very skeptical, sometimes there is no amount of evidence that you can give them. At the end of the day, right, it's almost as people believe what they want to believe. So.
Now, also, sleep paralysis is something that some people experience and that just freaks them out. And there's a lot of different thoughts as to what it could be caused from. What do you say sleep paralysis is?
Yes. What happens is, I was mentioning before that when we sleep, we usually are maybe 2 or 4 inches away from the physical body. And then when we are in that position, we have a lot of connections to the physical body of vital energies or bioenergies or chi, prana, and really all of those mini connections to the motor functions, to the muscles of the physical body, is what allows us to move the physical body. Almost, as we go through our day to day, we move the physical body through those connections, almost as if we had a puppet, on strings to a certain extent. Now, most people, they disconnect again a couple of inches. But what happens if we disconnect, if we have the bioenergies more loose and we end up disconnecting a little bit further, let's say beyond 2-3 feet or so, is that all of these mini energetic connections to the motor functions and to the muscles of the physical body, they reorganize themselves into the silver cord. And then once the silver cord has formed, we have lost the mini energetic connections to the muscles of the physical body, and then we really cannot control our physical body. And this is what happens in essence in an out-of-body experience. When we are further out from the physical body, we are not able to move it. I sometimes always joke that I wish, while I was outside my body, my physical body would go do the shopping at the supermarket and come back, because that would save me a lot of time. But it just doesn't do it. It stays basically still there, and it won't move. Now, what happens in the cases of sleeping paralysis is that person, and during that night, had their energies a little bit more loose, a little bit more flexible. And instead of just disconnecting the 2-4 inches, it's disconnected a little bit further. And then the mini energetic connections to the muscles just simply disappeared. So, or reorganized into the silver cord. So they are not able to move the physical body. Now, sometimes in the middle of the night, or, when they're waking up, sometimes actually when they're falling asleep as well, they are returning to the physical body, but in essence, they become aware before the two bodies have realigned and before the energies have reorganized themselves into connecting to all of the muscles and the motor functions of the body. So the moment that the person regains the awareness and the two bodies are not fully connected yet, we are still unable to move the physical body. And of course, we know the reaction is normally panic. What is going on here? Obviously, we start. Most people start trying to struggle against it, and common sense just simply dictates that we should be able to move our physical body. So we are really struggling to come back into the physical body. Normally, it takes maybe about 10, 20, 30 seconds really to reconnect to the physical body. It doesn't really take that long, even though I know that those 20, 30 seconds for the person who is experiencing it, it might seem an eternity. I remember when I used to feel this when I was a teenager, and at first I didn't know what it was, of course. So yes, it would also feel like an eternity to me. But so in essence, that's what's causing, the sleep paralysis. Now, there is a silver lining here, and something, to try to give something a little bit more constructive and positive here to the listeners, that when we have the sleeping paralysis, even though, first of all, what it means is that we are more disconnected than connected, and we have become aware before the two bodies have reconnected. So I know that the main intention at that moment is to try to reconnect with the physical body and return to our normal condition and the one that we are used to, at least at this moment because of the physical life. But if at that moment we slow down, we try to relax, and instead of forcing ourselves to go back into the physical body, we try to move away from the physical body, let me say that this will be the easiest condition from which to have an out-of-body experience from, because we are in essence more out than in. I know that this is, how could I say, easily said than done, because again, at that moment, the person is trying to struggle, with getting back to the physical body. But my suggestion would be, give yourself a chance, try it a few times, just simply to relax and to move away from the physical body. And what's going to happen is that you're going to end up in an out-of-body experience. And you're going to, you can have an actual, real experience. And then when you return to the physical body, you will fit right in, and you won't perceive or suffer the sleeping paralysis this second time. So there is a constructive element to this, or an advantage that we can take advantage of with the sleeping paralysis.
Now, if you weren't in sleep paralysis, but let's say you were going to bed or taking a nap, and that's usually the best time from the research I've done to actually have an out-of-body experience is when you're getting ready to go to sleep. So what are some exercises, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but what are some exercises that somebody could do, maybe 3 key exercises that you would give somebody to become an astral traveler?
I guess the first thing would be to try to pick a place where you're going to be comfortable and undisturbed. Certainly, this is important. As much as we can be undisturbed, the better for us, obviously. Then the other thing, maybe one of the better exercises that can help to start to loosen up this energetic system and this energetic connections basically connect us to the physical body and that control the connection and the disconnection from the physical body. one of the better ones is this practice with vital energies, whereby either in a lying position or sitting or standing, you start to try to feel your vital energies inside of your body, and you start to make them run from the head all the way down to your feet, from the feet all the way up to your head, slowly at the beginning, trying to feel them running the length of your body. And little by little, you're going to start to feel like a tingling moving through your body downwards and upwards, or like a warmth, or like a coldness, or like a magnetic sensation. But the key here in this exercise is to try to feel it, to shift your attention from one area of the body to the other one, and then to the other one, and to guide the energies with your attention through your body all the way down to your feet, and then all the way up to your head, and to keep on doing it. So I guess what I'm trying to stress here is try not to just simply visualize it or just simply to imagine it, but try to feel it. As you start to do this a little bit more and more, and you start to get used to it, you can afterwards start trying to increase a little bit the volume of energies that you're moving, and also the speed of the energies that you're moving through your body. And as you increase this amount of energy moving through your body up and down, eventually you're going to intensify your energetic system to the point that you're going to reach this state that is called of the vibrational state, that I'm sure if listeners have read on out-of-body experiences, they probably have come across this state, or maybe if they have already dabbled a little bit in out-of-body experiences, or even the ones that have had spontaneous out-of-body experiences, maybe on some nights they woke up in the middle of the night with these strange vibrations, internal vibrations inside, and from this condition, they were prompted outside the body. So this exercise of moving the energies up and down and becoming better at it is going to promote the vibrational state, which is going to induce the out-of-body experience. It's going to induce the disconnection. So in essence, the theory is not really that difficult. Really, it isn't. The key here is on the repetition, on repeating this. Because, like anything in life, when we do something the fifth time, we are much better than the first time, of course. And when we are doing something the 100th time, our performance is much better than on the fifth time. So it's really just a matter of repetition. In my book and in our classes, of course, we have a little bit more of time, I guess, or I explain it with a little bit more details, and we get to practice it also in the classes.
Yeah, that's great. Now, have you ever actually gone off planet during an out-of-body experience?
Yes, I have. Yes, really, that can be such an open-ended question that I don't know where to go after that, but the answer is yes.
Like, let's say somebody wanted to travel the stars, essentially, leave the planet like X-Man style or X-Men style. Is that a possibility when you're in that level?
Yes, that is a possibility. And let me even say, sometimes what I see from people who are learning to have out-of-body experiences, and even students, is that sometimes at the beginning, on our first out-of-body experiences, we look a little bit, to try to give a picture here. When babies are starting to walk and they don't control well their legs yet, and then they want to, get to their mother who is on the couch, but they start to go sideways and they arrive at the other wall on the other end of the living room. Sometimes we look a little bit like this, or we might look a little bit like this on one of our first out-of-body experiences. And I say this because many times people describe, I've seen it with students quite often, that maybe on their third or their fifth out-of-body experience, all of a sudden they felt, when they regain awareness, they felt this pull from their body, and in a few seconds they found themselves in the middle of space, just flying about without too much control, really. They were not necessarily attempting or trying to get there, but they did. And so this is, sometimes it's not that uncommon for that to happen. But even then, if we wanted to, all we need to do, and really this applies to anything that we might want to do outside the body, to any target that we might want to get to outside the body, is for us, while we are outside the body, to think about the target, to think about us going in that direction, and then the astral body is going to start to fly or to go in the direction or to arrive at the target where we want to go. So that certainly is a possibility, and even more than that, it's actually something that happens quite often with people.
That sounds great. I can just imagine somebody that's doing that, and then all of a sudden, bang, they're next to Pluto or something. Like, how did I get here?
Yes,
that's great.
And let me say, you basically, even if you have studied a little bit of astronomy, you basically don't understand where you are. You lose the references very quickly because, here from planet Earth, we have these references now talking about astronomy, of the planets or of, let's say, you're looking from planet Earth at the Big Dipper or different types of arrangements of stars and everything. The moment that you are out in space, first of all, you realize how truly vast it is. It's huge. It's huge, huge, huge. Really, it's more than just simply being in the middle of the ocean. It's just so vast. And then the stars, like for example, like the arrangement of the Big Dipper, they make sense from this perspective of planet Earth. But when you are a little bit outwards in space, those stars no longer align to look like the Big Dipper because you are now seeing them from a very different perspective. So you are completely lost. So you might be looking at a planet there, and unless you are an astronomer that has, seen lots of pictures of Pluto or any of those planets, Saturn, of course, a little bit more obvious, but you really are not going to be able to recognize them. You have no idea if you are, by Pluto, or if you are on the other side of the Milky Way, or if you are 20 galaxies away. It's very, very difficult to pinpoint or to recognize the location where you are.
Have you ever made contact with any other beings or interdimensionals, extraterrestrials, angels, demons, any of the above, all of the above?
Yes. I would say I know that people use different words and different terminology, but I would have to say probably all of the above. Certainly, there are beings from many different dimensions. There are beings that are a little bit more correct, more benign, more positive. They want to help us, and they have received so many names, right? So one of them is angels or ascended masters, illuminated beings, spirit guides, helpers, extraphysical mentors. Really, I don't know. Us in the physical reality, we are so good at creating different names and different synonyms to refer to them. Certainly you find them. These are, I would say, some of the most interesting experiences sometimes that people can have, and even the reason why many people want to develop the skill to have out-of-body experiences, so as to be able to have a conversation with them, sometimes even to consult things about their life with them, and which, by the way, is something that also happens in the cases of near-death experiences, right? That several of them, they describe how they had this conversation with their spirit guide. And then afterwards, when they were sent back, or when the spirit guide told them to come back, also gave them a little bit of a greater perspective about their life. And this is in part why they come back with sort of like a greater sense of direction about their life. Maybe understanding a little bit better this that people like to call of the life task or the life mission. That in many instances, many individuals feel that they have one and they are looking for it. So certainly those types of experiences are interesting. I wouldn't want to discount them at all, but just to give a more complete answer. Yes, you also can find individuals that are not as correct, positive, and benign as these ones that I'm describing. So some individuals that are less ethical. Those, in essence, are very hard to find. What happens is that when we have an out-of-body experience, there are many, many dimensions, and we have the tendency to connect to a range of dimensions that have our similar level of, how could I say, of spiritual development or of ethics. Maybe this makes more sense for people. So we rarely go to the very low dimensions or the very dense dimensions. Most of the times that I have been to these more dense dimensions to see, not really to see, but, that I have observed those dimensions has been because I have gone to try to help some individuals that are there. So, and usually you go with some spirit guides and you go to a very specific task. So to try to give an example, it's almost like here in the physical reality, if you decide that you're going to start helping, for example, the homeless, you don't go to Beverly Hills or to Bel Air, to the nicest neighborhoods, because over there are basically no homeless. You go to the rougher neighborhoods, to try to help and to try to assist. And then you see, these individuals that are confused, less than ethical in certain cases. Sometimes they can be very bothersome, but in essence, they are more than anything bothersome to the physical reality because they are focused on what is happening on the physical dimension. For you as a projector, really, you basically don't even see them. Their effect is negligible. I think that the safest condition is when we are outside the body. The main influences and the main problems and the main risks, I think, are here in the physical reality, and not by a little, by far. The physical reality is much more dangerous than the non-physical reality.
Have you ever been scared out of body, had an experience where you just said, man, I got to get back to my body and wake up right now?
I don't think I've ever have. I remember I had nightmares, but those were nightmares when I was a little kid. And then what happened is that when I was a teenager, my out-of-body experiences, they were so normal. The first ones, the first, I don't know, 10, 15, they were so normal. I was just simply in my house. I was just simply looking at the big tree that was outside my house. Everything seemed so normal. And then afterwards, when I started reading books, I started to develop more my skill on out-of-body experiences that even though I now have seen certain things that I can see sometimes, certain things that would not be nice to observe. I haven't had the reaction of, look, I have to get back into my body right now. No, usually it's more because I am there to do something. To a certain extent, it's almost like, here in the physical reality, Doctors Without Borders. Sometimes they go to places that are very dangerous, but they know what they're doing. They're there to do a very specific task, and they actually want to stay there and try to contribute as much as they can. So no, that at least I haven't had that reaction. Not that I can remember at the moment.
And if you could share one or two experiences with our audience tonight here at the Leak Project that you would say, if you were to think of all the incredible experiences you've had out of body and you were to pick one or two of the most incredible, what would those two experiences be?
Let me see. Maybe, well, some I think maybe it wouldn't be the right forum to describe, but let me give you here. Yes,
hello.
A couple yeah, no, really.
That's awesome.
That I don't know if I can. Sometimes even to my partner, I don't want to tell this experience to. But look, certainly some things that are very, very interesting. I think that they are some of the most interesting things. I know before I was talking about this idea of the life task and the life purpose, and that again, many individuals they feel that they have one, and they are even looking for it. Sometimes even taking classes and trying to see where they can find it. Now, when you have out-of-body experiences and you go to a certain range of dimensions, what you realize in those realities is that those are the realities or the places where people, before being born, they are planning their life tasks. They are planning and they're preparing themselves for the next life. And then when you get to those dimensions, really what you realize, or what that helps you with, is that you start remembering what was it that you had planned for yourself, sort of like what was the initial intention that I had, before deciding to come into this physical life in the first place. So some of those realities are extremely, extremely interesting, and some of those activities of preparation are very interesting. Some of those activities, they look, sometimes some of them, almost like a class that people are taking on different things. Sometimes people are studying, for example, the physical body. Other people are sometimes studying, things like ethics, things like how to be a better person, how to overcome problems with certain relationships, and the things that, in essence, make people a better individual, which is, the idea behind evolution, growth, personal development, so to speak. So some of those realities, for example, one specifically that I remember, I was in this reality, this dimension where it didn't seem to have any ground. What I mean by that is, here in the physical reality, obviously we have, ground, and everything is set up or organized on top of the ground. What I mean is building houses, roads, everything. And we are very used to this idea because here in the physical reality, we have gravity. And then we have the concept of up and down. But in some of the non-physical realities, there is no gravity and there is no ground. So really, there isn't the concept of up and down, so to speak. So it looked a little bit, this specific dimension looked a little bit like, I don't want to say a cloud, but a little bit like as if you were in the middle of like this grayish mist, like a little bit of a light fog, so to speak, even though you could see very clearly through the fog, and you could see, where people were gathering. And then as you were coming close to like the environment where the class or the course was taking place, what you would see from a distance was almost, first of all, like a sphere, like a very big bubble, and something happening inside. As you start to get close to it, and now I was actually very close to the bubble. As I got very close to it, you realize that it's almost like the equivalent of an auditorium here. Of course, here in the physical reality, our auditoriums are, again, on top of the ground and arranged in rows and chairs, and everybody's sitting, and there is a lecturer there at the front. Over there, just because the astral body doesn't get tired, really there is no need in many dimensions to have anything like a chair, because obviously you don't need to sit down at all. And things don't need to be arranged on top of something, like on the ground. So in this bubble, there were people standing or, in different positions all over the bubble. And there was somebody in the middle, telepathically, basically lecturing on the topic that he was lecturing, and the range of his manifestation, because I cannot say, it's almost like the equivalent here in the physical reality of the range of his voice. Let's say that, I'm speaking with a microphone and the range of my voice is 100 yards. So over there, the range of his energetic manifestation, of his telepathic manifestation, if it was 100 yards, then this entire bubble had created due to the range of his energetic manifestation. And that energetic information that he was conveying was a little bit different in information compared to the rest of the dimension, and that's why you could see that bubble. It was almost like you were seeing the energetic manifestation of the lecture, of the main lecturer. And then as you were just a little bit outside the bubble, you could hear something or perceive something of the lecture, but the moment that you put your head inside the bubble, now you can hear very clearly. And it's not loud, but it's very clearly. And I say here, and I'm going to put it like in between quotes, because obviously it's not an issue of a sound, but telepathy is something like, especially there, is something as if the words are forming inside your being, and you're understanding the meaning, but it's not even English, which I don't know how many people have already, experienced this. When you are outside the body, and it's not a matter of language. Obviously, outside the body, there isn't an official language, or certainly none of the physical languages is the official language outside the body. It's a very non-symbolic, communication, but the understanding is richer. It's clearer. So this specific individual, actually, that specific class that I saw that time was more on vital energies, on the energetic system. Those individuals that are there attending that class, they are attending, let's say, just to try to give a reference, an entire semester or an entire career about those topics. You as a projector, as somebody who is having an out-of-body experience, are not able to stay the entire semester. You are more like auditing a class, and then you return back to your physical body. But what is interesting is that I remember as I was, listening to that spirit guy lecture, because he certainly, the lecturer was somebody with already a good level of development. Is that the memories of my own time when I had studied there, before I was born, came rushing into my mind. And then I remember certain things like who was studying there with me. And these are individuals that at this moment are alive and they are close to me. And then I realized, okay, those are some of the individuals with whom we should be trying to develop certain projects together, because we had planned this even before we were born. Now, I think that having those types of experiences to those types of dimensions, for many people, would open their eyes quite a bit. It would give them an idea, first of all, of organization of life. That a big reason why we are here is precisely to try to become better individuals, and that we had already organized, certain projects and certain tasks before we were born, so as to try to take better advantage of the time that we were going to have here in the physical reality. But aside from our own personal organization, it gives us an idea of how, in these other non-physical dimensions, there are already certain structures set up to help us to organize this. So there are already other beings that are already trying to help us so that we can, understand what are the logical next steps in our development, and then for us to prepare them, and then to come here into the laboratory, so to speak, and put it in practice. So those types of experiences, certainly if listeners and everybody could have them, they would be very interesting. Certainly for me, it was I had already had an experience like that beforehand, but that specific one, which already happened about 20 years ago, was had a little bit more details, and really it helped me to understand maybe the purpose of life and the purpose of my life a little bit better. So that one, again, recommended. Recommended for everybody.
Oh, that's great.
Those types of experiences. Yeah.
I certainly appreciate you sharing that with us. And I would strongly recommend our audience go to learnobes.com. Also check out iacworld.org. There's several publications on there that are really good in regards to out-of-body experiences, astral projection. One of them that I'm looking at is Demystifying the Out-of-Body Experience. And then the next one, The Out-of-Body Experience. Now, how long have you been actually writing about these as well?
Writing about them, I don't remember when was my first article on out-of-body experiences. Must have been maybe about 18, 20 years ago or so. But certainly a good, a good place where I gathered a lot of the information that I had already observed, and even a lot of the information that I had already read, and also leading on the experiences of many of my colleagues, because that's one of the advantages of the IAC. It's not just a one-man band, but we are dozens of researchers and instructors all over the world. Is probably the Demystifying the Out-of-Body Experience book. That is my book. And then I, aside from the person reading the book and getting many of the techniques and many of the exercises that they can try there, at the same time is a resource for a lot of references on out-of-body experiences. And so that would be a very, very useful book. And besides that, of course, the classes. I think that the classes, the live interaction and the live exercises, that can help individuals quite a bit. Really, there is no way to bottle that up in a book, but I think that those certainly can help quite a bit.
Oh, fantastic. And in closing out tonight, I would like to ask about some of the different courses that you offer. If you could maybe share some of the details on a specific course or something you would recommend for our listeners if they wanted to go to the next level with their out-of-body opportunities.
Sure. Like I was mentioning, probably the main out-of-body experience course is this one that we call the Consciousness Development Program. And for listeners, when they go to, for example, learnobes.com or even iacworld.org, they can go to the calendar of activities there, and they're going to see, all of the upcoming courses. Even we have online classes, for people who live in cities where we don't have an educational center. And then that specific course basically already not only gives all of the different energetic exercises, like the one that I was describing before that induces the vibrational state. So it gives several of those exercises, but also you get to practice them in class. And then even the instructors are going to, help you with like personal feedback, like how did you feel, how did you do? Then in your case, try to do this, focus on that, etc. So that the person in essence is able to replicate it at home and, keep up their development, keep progressing. Now, also in those classes, we have totally practical classes where we ask students to bring a sleeping bag, an exercise mat, a couple of pillows, and we're going to lie down there to try techniques on out-of-body experiences. And at the end of the classes, the person knows maybe about 25, 30 out-of-body experience techniques. And it's actually very good for people to learn several, because what we have seen is that, there isn't like one universal technique that works with everybody all of the time. But because we are not computers that you can install, Windows 10 on all of them, but we are very individualized. What works with person A doesn't necessarily work with person B. So there are techniques based on breathing, there are techniques based on imagination, there are techniques based on working with bioenergies, on concentration, on the repetition of certain things. So the idea is for people to try different types or categories of techniques so that they can find out which one is the one that works better for them, for their type of personality, for their type of their type of personality. And once they do, then things become a little bit easier for them. So the CDP, the Consciousness Development Program, would be certainly the course that I would recommend for listeners.
Right on. Well, Lewis, I got to say, it's been a pleasure to speak with you. You certainly brought everything to the table eloquently, and I can tell you definitely know your stuff. I certainly feel honored to have had the chance to speak with you.
Thank you again. My pleasure. This is exactly what a big part of our objectives to try to bring this information to interested individuals. So I certainly appreciate the opportunity.
Fantastic. Hopefully, we'll have an opportunity to speak again. And folks, check out learnobes.com. Also, go to iacworld.org and become a contributing member at leakproject.com. You'll get access to exclusive content and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/clandestine Time Lord. Definitely try some of these exercises, guys, because I'll tell you, I've told you my experience before if you've listened to some of the previous podcasts where I talked about how I had an out-of-body experience. It changed my life, and I researched it deeply. And there's nothing as cool as having an out-of-body experience. Or if there is, there's very few things as cool as having an out-of-body experience. So be the change you want to be, everybody. Have a fantastic evening. This is Rex Bear. Talk to you soon. Mind expansion experiment. Travel time and space inside your mind. Learn OBEs with Louis Minero, International Academy of Consciousness. Well, Louis, I got to say, it's a real honor to speak with you here at the Leak Project. I mean, you are just at the top of your field when it comes to OBEs, and I'd strongly recommend our audience go to learnobes.com. You can also check out iacworld.org if you'd like to know more about how to actually have an out-of-body experience. Louis, thanks for joining us. How the heck are you?
I am fine. Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. It's a real honor to speak with you. We talked a little bit before the show. I told you how much of a fan I am personally with out-of-body experiences and how I find the phenomenon just to be literally superhuman, but something just about anybody can achieve if they try. So if you would, for our audience, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to research in depth out-of-body experiences.
Yeah, I guess basically with the out-of-body experiences, I started having them spontaneously when I was 12, more or less, involuntarily, completely involuntarily. I just, one afternoon, I just simply came outside my body and I saw my physical body there lying in bed. And this prompted me to return very quickly into the physical body. And it was very obvious for me that I had been outside my body, even to the point to which when I came back into my body, I remember thinking, wait a second, I was looking at myself from that perspective, but I am here, but I was there, but I am here. And obviously I was 12 at that moment. I really didn't understand what had just happened. I guess I must have thought that everybody had them because I just didn't even pay attention to that anymore. Probably they called me to go play baseball or something else, and I just put it out of my mind. And after that, I kept on having out-of-body experiences, not with a lot of regularity, maybe more or less like once a year or so, but they were always so obvious, so clear, even though they were very, how could I say, normal. I wasn't, visiting non-physical realities or anything like that. I was just simply floating about in my house at night, and seeing the dog walk around sometimes in the middle of the night to go to his water bowl and things like that. And then when I was about 22, 23, I believe, some of my colleagues, I was in my last year of college, of my chemistry degree, and some of my colleagues, they arrived in Miami, where I was living at the time, to start the branch of the IAC, the institution that I represent now and that I do research with and give classes on. So when I heard out-of-body experiences, I naturally became very interested in that. And since really the first activities, I realized this is it. This is what I've been looking for, a place, a school that teaches out-of-body experiences and that can, expand on the possibilities of this skill, of this ability. So that's really how I started, I guess. And then since then, I've been giving classes all over the world for about 20 years.
That's great. So you're definitely a natural. It's something that came to you just in your sleep, essentially, and then you built upon it from there. Now, I find that great because I've talked to people that have written books on out-of-body experiences, and they can't even really do it. They write books about it. So I would definitely, if I wanted to practice something, want to speak with a coach or somebody that knew how to do it very well. And, it sounds to me like you've had hundreds and hundreds of experiences that you can remember. I think that everybody, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but does everybody have out-of-body experiences when they go to sleep? Oftentimes they just don't remember it, right?
Exactly. Everybody disconnects. Everybody separates from the body. And, what is observed, and this has been observed not only by us, by the IEC, but, different authors, different people from different centuries. If you see somebody who is sleeping close by, your wife, husband, son, etc., you're going to see that they are floating above their physical body, maybe separated by a couple of inches or 4 inches. This varies from person to person and from night to night. And we basically spend the entire 8 hours that we are sleeping, floating above our body, unaware, without realizing it, that is the case.
Now, if you would describe to our audience what the International Academy of Consciousness is.
Yes. We are a fairly large international organization of a non-profit organization of research and of education. This is the two main objectives. One is to try to do research on paranormal phenomena, certainly the out-of-body experience, near-death experiences, vital energies, consciousness evolution, etc. And the other aspect is the education aspect. So trying to give classes in a really several fields, but mainly with the emphasis on the out-of-body experiences and trying to help people to develop their own skills. And within that also, I know that you were mentioning. Certainly in my case, I started having out-of-body experiences when I was very young, and later on is that I learned techniques and I was able to induce it a little bit more frequently. So yes, a little bit more of a natural ability, but let me say I have a lot of colleagues and a lot of instructors really in the IEC who took the other trajectory towards the out-of-body experiences. They were students first. They hadn't had, out-of-body experiences before, but like anything in life, it's really a matter of training, almost like a sport or like learning a musical instrument. They, applied themselves enough, and now they are, coaches, instructors. Sometimes I am actually asking them, for advice on certain things because they are just as good. Really, it's a matter of a training, really. There's nothing mysterious about it. It's just a matter of, repetition and dedication.
And when you said that you could observe somebody if they were sleeping, floating out of their body, is there specific cameras such as Kirlian photography or something similar to that can actually observe the spiritual body outside of the physical body?
No, not that I know of at the moment. The Kirlian photography certainly can perceive, some of the vital energies, but it's on a more limited basis. That we don't have like a camera, that can perceive, fully the astral body at this moment. Hopefully, in the next decades, we'll be developing it, and that will help a lot tremendously because obviously, that's going to help us to give more evidence, to people of something that has been already observed for a while, right? Now, I have a friend of mine because on the research aspect, we have different research lines at the IEC, and I have a colleague of mine who is doing a lot of research on trying to detect bioenergies or vital energies in the functional MRIs. I know maybe the listener, some people know the MRIs as this medical machine where you are put into, when they want to scan inside your body. And then besides the normal MRI, there is the fMRI, which instead of static images really is made for detecting the functioning of the body. Also, it's a medical, or the applications are mainly medical. But he has been able to get a lot of very interesting images and perceptions of vital energies through the functional MRI. And this, again, is part of the effort of the IEC, one of the research lines in trying to provide conventional data, about this paranormal phenomena.
Great. Now, is there a difference between OBEs and astral projection?
I know several different authors. Sometimes they classify it in different fashions, and then sometimes they refer to, for example, astral projection or astral travel when you are going to a certain range of dimensions, maybe more the astral planes. For some authors, these are the more maybe denser or lower type of planes, and then the out of body experience is a different type of a plane, or the soul travel is a different type of a plane. And to a certain extent, I understand that classification of trying to classify depending on where we're going. But in essence, the disconnection is basically the same, and the body that we are using out there is basically the same. To simplify, I can say right now that is, I'm just going to use the most generic term, we leave the body, and if we look at ourselves, we are wearing what they call the astral body, which looks exactly like our physical body, exactly our same height, our same, wingspan, same scar in the left arm where we fell from the bike when we were, 15. So it looks exactly like us. And then, of course, depending on which reality we tune in, we can reach, many different dimensions and many different realities. So, yes, I know that they use different types of, terms or terminology, but it's more than anything related to, where we're going and how lighter the astral travel is, or how dense and heavy the astral travel is, the astral body.
Now, also, some people say that dreaming is the same thing as an out-of-body experience, but it's just like a really powerful lucid dream. What would you say to them? We realize that there is certainly a distinction. The difference between the regular dream and the out-of-body experience really is awareness. When you are outside the body, you are as aware as you are right now. Even if I were to sort of like joke with the listeners, the people that are listening this, and I were to ask them, at this moment, are you dreaming this, this podcast, or are you awake of it? I'm sure everybody realizes that they are awake, aware, and that they won't confuse this with a dream. Now, that's the distinction between the regular dream and the out-of-body experience. It's just